Hey everyone, I'm Pacific the Casual Gamer, and welcome back to another video. And Cortana just opened on my computer, but think I'm finally ready to make this video. It's been a long video in the making. I just kind of haven't figured out exactly what to say, but I think I know exactly what to say now. So it's all of the jobs I've ever had ranked worst to best, and we're just gonna start off with the worst job I ever had, which I consider it a job because I did get a couple benefits out of it, but it was being an altar boy. At the time, I was kind of being forced to go to church, so I kind of got pushed into the altar boy. If you know what that is, you just kind of help at the altar of a church. The role, and I was one of the only like kids in the church, which as a kid sucked. And how old was I then? I don't know how old I was, but then beyond that, I was getting forced until I was 16 and made a stand for myself to go to church when I wasn't even religious. Like, yeah. So you can imagine I'm not religious. I'm forced to act like I'm helping with the rituals. And it really felt like I was there as a sign of like pride more than anything. It felt like I was the altar boy not because I was there to help or to, you know, I don't know, religiously enlighten myself or anything like that. It just kind of felt like I was put up there like, yeah, we have this kid who's part of the church and we got an altar boy. Like all sorts of terrible, terrible, terrible vibes. And it kind of leads into being forced to go to church because the church that my parents are a part of, they used real wine. And if you know about the ceremonies, you know that there's bread and wine. That's religious and Christian. Well, Christian everything really. It's there. That's the religious food along with fish, and it kind of like almost made me an alcoholic because whenever you're going through depressing times, whether you're a kid or an adult, like being forced to go to work, like when I worked at Walmart, I was depressed all the time. So it's like I had so many reasons to justify like buying and spending money on like candy just to cope with it. And so as a kid, you're bored, you're bored, but you know that you get alcohol at the end. Like it was a terrible setup. So I developed a taste for wine when I was like 12, 13. And I did actually a couple times when I was 18 and 19 and 20 living at my parents' house, did like sneak wine because I knew you didn't have to tell me what wine did at all. I knew what it would do. It calmed you down. It, all this stuff. At the time, I didn't care about the impairment parts, right? I mean, there's a time I actually almost went uh, to work drunk one time. Except the scary thing about that was I was hungover, and I had this gut feeling that work was going to get canceled that day, and I knew it was, and it did get canceled that day. So, and I was underage at the time. Like, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. So, yeah, that was probably the worst. That was the worst job I ever had. There was absolutely no benefit to it. It, I mean, you can get into of course, harming the relationship with my parents at the time, all that. But it was just bad. I did meet some cool people though, and I don't really know if I learned anything, honestly. I mean, I guess I had some different types of songs to play on guitar, but I don't play guitar anymore. So other than that, eh, you know. But yeah, I I don't know, but that was the worst job. There was no ill intention forcing me to go to church though. It wasn't like I was like a bad kid, so I was there. They were like, "All right, your punishment is church." Like church was never, ever, ever a punishment. It was a status symbol, and it was a status symbol and a thing that, you know, you just do. And the putting me into that role, it kind of accentuated that and took any goodwill that was there out of it, just completely gone, you know. And but there was, at the core of it was good intentions by my parents. So that's one of the things where I'm not mad at them about it at all, really. Like it's kind of hard for me to be mad at them because it was good intentioned, you know. To them, I mean, if from their shoes, from their perspective, if I think of it from their perspective, it's good. Like they couldn't have predicted that, you know. And I don't think I've ever talked to them specifically about all this stuff. Like they couldn't have predicted any of that, you know. Because who thinks that sending a kid to church would increase their chances of being an alcoholic, right? And I know alcoholic is a very strong word. I know how strong that word is, and I am serious about using that word rather than something like, yeah, I kind of like alcohol a bit more. No, alcoholic. I'm using the word alcoholic in, you know, the way that I want it to be used. And, you know, you don't just have someone be like, yeah, church made me alcoholic. Like, that doesn't happen, you know. So it was bad luck of the draw for them for a good thing. So, yeah, let's move on to number 5, Applebees. Just poorly run restaurant. I was the host, aka the maid. Lack of training, lack of support from the staff to get my job done. The entire vibe of Applebees was, instead of you're doing good, excellent, there was a vibe of don't mess up. Instead of keep going, you can do it, it's don't mess up or you get punished. So, I mean, it's a terrible, terrible job. It is a terrible job. In fact, the restaurant where I live, the Applebee's where I live, which is somehow still open, just no. You know, if I was ever offered a chance to work there again, I would never take it. It's just it's not a good place to work at all. In fact, I remember there was a manager there who was so bad that when I worked to Walmart, there was a manager that looked like that bad manager, and it took me forever. This manager at Walmart was such a good manager, and it took me forever to, like, not just look at her and be like, oh, she's coming towards me, I'm gonna get chewed out or get told I did something wrong. Like that's how bad that manager at Applebee's was. I mean, I did make a lot of money. I made like something like $5 over minimum wage, but there was never enough hours there to really make any sort of income. You know, it was a lot of, you're scheduled to work today? All right, you leave when we tell you to. I never really got any solid hours. So of course, then the place would be understaffed all the time. So that was fun. But I mean, there's some days I got called out. They're just like, they called me out before I showed up. There was some days where I worked for an hour. Just a single hour. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Never want to work there again, Applebee's. The next job was strawberry picking at my family's farm. And this was another job I wouldn't necessarily say in the beginning forced into. I was more like, how should I put it? Asked, I said yes. I did this for, I want to say 3 seasons or 4 seasons. Asked and I said yes. The second time, I was told no, and then I was asked, and if I said no, shamed. Because there was this phase my mom went through, probably like the worst phase I ever seen her go through, and I'm glad she got out of it, was this like, it was like a giving phase, but it was like you must give. Like, you know how like the act of giving is supposed to be this good thing, and you give because you're a good person, you know, not because of a status symbol or pride or, out of the necessity, because all of those at that point you're not giving, right? My mom went through a phase of giving as a status and a pride, and you just give out of necessity rather than giving because you're a good person. So a couple things happen here. Again, this was all good intentioned. The good things that came out of this was I built a lot of relationships with my cousins, whose aunt is one of the most craziest, terrible people that I know of in the existence of the world. I never saw them very often, and they just got sent to our house. And so these cousins I never see very often. I get to develop a relationship with them over a month. It was awesome. We hated picking strawberries. But like there's a lot of good memories and bad memories. It was good memories on the field, but outside of the berry picking field, not a good situation. Basically, it, along with the being forced to be an altar boy, being forced to pick strawberries for my family's farm because they're family and it's nice to do so, really skewed my vision of giving. Like, it wasn't till, at that point, it probably wasn't till I was 16 before I thought there was any sort of giving with good intention. I thought that all giving was ill-intended at some level. Someone's giving just for the pride, someone's giving just for the status, and it just, that altar boy and strawberry, it just made me think that all giving was actually just loaded and manipulative. And it was terrible. It was terrible circumstances, because you wouldn't think that could happen to specifically me. Like, if you looked at what kind of person I was at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, like, you would not think. If I was the parent of me at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and I accidentally forced my kid to, like, go on my family's farm, like, you wouldn't expect that to happen. And it did. And, it sucked. It was a challenge I had to deal with. Because, my parents, it was all good intention. Like, build a relationship with the family outside of the household you live in. You get to work on a farm. I mean, there's a skewed vision of, oh, you send your kid to a farm, they learn valuable life skills. All I really learned was that, like, what mud feels like. It made me hate hard work. It did the opposite of everything intended for it. So that kind of sucked. But again, it drove a rift through me, specifically my mom. This one it drove a rift through me and my mom, and it sucked because it was that perfect storm of events. She was going through a phase, at least on the outside. I have no idea. I never asked her about this, honestly. I never asked her about anything. So, like I tell people, take this all with not just a grain of salt, an entire salt mine. It was her outward expressions made me think that, she really was just given for the pride of it and the status of it. And I honestly don't know. She doesn't do that anymore. In fact, there's like zero pride. And because that I know of, because I have talked to her about how she gives now, and there's no pride. So crazy times, man. My high school years, I'm surprised I'm not, from my high school years up to like my Applebee's job at 18, I'm surprised I'm not like the most selfish alcoholic there is. The most selfish alcoholic druggie. I could see myself being that. But anyways, a perfect storm of events. From 12 to 18 was the perfect storm. How I made it out, I have no idea. But number 3 job was working at Walmart. Now, the people of Walmart do exist, and like any retail job, you deal with assholes. And I dealt with assholes. And for every asshole, there was like 5 good people. That's a pretty, if I'm gonna be honest, that's a pretty good ratio to me. Like, I didn't even deal with a bad person every single day. Walmart was just cool. I mean, the manager kind of was didn't very much. It was just very reserved, so you could never really figure out what they were thinking. The like the manager of the whole store, I never figured out what she was thinking. All I know was like, hey, Jared, can you do this? Yeah, sure. I'm bored. Why not? Like, that's all. That's literally what happened. Or like the manager of the front end. Hey, Jared, can you do this? And I'm like, well, I'm bored. Sure, why not? I don't care. You know, I was probably one of the most relaxed people at Walmart. I mean, you would think I was a depressed stoner, like a depressed 24/7 stoner when I worked at Walmart, because Walmart was depressing. It was depressing to have to stand at a cash register or stock for 8 hours, and I mean, all the people I worked with were really cool and nice. Like, there wasn't anyone that, if I got told I was working with someone, there was never like a, aw, man. Of course, I had favorites, my favorite people to work with, but there wasn't anyone who I was like, God, I see their face and I'm like, oh, this person. Well, great. It was funny because the two areas where I did see people that I really didn't want to work with, I never worked at. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But just a good vibe, get through the suck together. And, I mean, the only thing that bothered me was they overscheduled me, which they overscheduled me, but I got paid for it, so towards the end, they overscheduled me. Like, I take my time very seriously, so they overscheduled me just something like I was working 20. I put in my thing for 20 hours, and then they overscheduled me like 14 hours in 2 weeks, and I was like, you know what? Snowed. It snowed here. I did the math. I realized I didn't even need the job at Walmart anymore, and I called out the same day, and I was super happy. But I had a lot of great experiences there, and I'd never worked a job where you work in a store and everyone was so supportive. Like, other than the farm job. The farm job at my strawberry farm, everyone was supportive. A lot of it was because where I live, farming's one of the only jobs you can have if you're under 16. So there's a lot of complainy kids and silent kids. But the farm job, I mean, it's family. Of course, they're going to support me. Altar boy, I don't know. A bunch of it was just, oh, Jared, you're such a good boy, da-da-da-da, But Walmart, man, very supportive people, for the most part, Then again, I never got on anyone's bad side, so, I don't know. I wasn't there long enough to get on anyone's bad side, we'll say that. But, I mean, I'm happy for the experience. I'm glad I got the job and had it for as long as I did. Of course, I wish I could have quit sooner. I mean, because at the end of the day, Walmart, every minute I spent there, I wanted to kill myself. There was actually, now that I'm thinking about it, a couple moments driving to Walmart where I was like, you know what? I kind of hope I get in a car crash. I'm not even kidding. I hoped to get in a car crash because I wouldn't have to go to work. And that was when I knew that I had to stop the YouTube channel posting for a while and really just focus on the freelancing business. So I was like, dude, I'm hoping to get injured and become house ridden so I could not go to work. You serious? Come on. Also, there was one thing, they didn't tell me how to call in sick properly, so I had all these slaps on the wrist that really I shouldn't have had, and it was kind of shady because that affects certain things, certain benefits. I mean, you can figure out exactly what I'm talking about online. So that was super shady. And they also closed down a section of work where there was a bunch of old people who were ready to retire and they didn't get to keep their years, so they had to start their careers all over. That was super shady too. Or like retire right then. They'd have of course lower pensions. That was super shady. So of course there was the typical shady management practices, but other than that, it's fine. Job number 2, second best job I ever had, was martial arts teaching. I taught martial arts for 4 years. I helped out in classes for God knows how long. I was training in martial arts for about 12 years. I don't know exactly when I started. There was a couple times where I'd hit like 2-week breaks because I'd get sick or some family member died or there's a vacation. There was also a 3-month section where I didn't train because of baseball. But so it was really like 11 and a half years. But it was a really cool job. I mean, first of all, I'm a gamer. I like violent video games. I get to be violent video games in real life. That's always fun. I got to learn some really cool moves. The cool thing was the vibes at a school were absolutely like wonderful. I mean, you walked in there, you could make a mistake and there really wouldn't be anyone that would trash talk you or shame you. Of course, all of us at some point got like that. And towards the end of my martial arts career, the school just kind of started, there was a lot of that going on towards the very end with the people that I was around, which is kind of why I quit. I had that, and I had personal problems with the owner, but it was all problems that was just between me and the owner. It wasn't like I'm not going to sit there and be like, the owner doesn't, there's 2 owners. Is the one that didn't show up very often. I'm not going to be all like, yeah, this martial arts school is a scam, because it's not. It's not. It's just personal problems. There's many different types of people, and one of the things about martial arts that some schools do this, our school was one of them, and I just don't like, is having the same person be like your instructor, leader, whatever you want to say, for your whole life. I don't like that philosophy at all. I think that's a philosophy. I understand where it comes from. Personally, I think that's a philosophy that is ripe for discrepancies, and I guess I want to say it's ripe to really take the process of having a teacher and devalue it, because you have one perspective your whole life that's in charge of you, right? Even if they're a master of bringing on other perspectives, you still have to adhere to theirs. And I disagree with that philosophy. I think that's a terrible idea, and it lowers the value of the teaching process. One of my favorite things about that school was that there was multiple teachers for everything, right? You didn't just have to, like when I was teaching, you didn't just have to walk up to me if I was your teacher. You had all these other options, and that kind of the perspectives all, that brought a lot of value to students. And of course, when you teach someone stuff, you watch someone become a better person because of it. You watch someone, learn because of it, protect themselves, not get bullied so much. I mean, there's no other feeling that I know of like that, when you change a person's life for the better, But, why I stopped was, there's a lot of reasons I could go into why I stopped that are going to have to be their own separate video if I decide to make one. But I still don't even know if I want to. Actually, no. I'm going to say right now I don't want to make one, but eventually I do want to make one. And, it's just the way it is. But that was my martial arts teaching career. It was amazing. And I intend, once me and my girlfriend have some plans for certain things. No, it's not children. or getting married. No. Don't, not that. But we have plans to maybe just do something, like plans on our future. And once we decide on that, I'm going to start looking for another martial arts school, depending on, what location we end up in, or if we stay where we are now, So I got to pick when, what kind of martial arts school I want to get back to. And if I want to get into the same one or change, because I train in Taekwondo. I've also been editing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu videos and wrestling videos, and I got to think of, all right, what do I want? Do I want a sport martial art? Do I want a striking, self-defense, traditional? All these questions. But that was my martial arts teaching career's amazing job. I'm glad I got to experience it, and I learned a lot because of it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the reason I am who I am today. I think that has to do is a good piece of it, but of course, like I said, I don't believe in the one perspective philosophy. I think for me is dumb. I don't learn that way, and I've learned from many people, and martial arts is a part of it. So then the last job is that I guess I enjoy is the job that I call the internet extraordinaire. It's the only way to describe it. It's content creation on YouTube. It's freelancing. It's graphic design and voiceover work. Just the whole online business space is so awesome. I love being able... There's a cat meowing at something. I don't know what it is. Come, cat. Come here. She's not going to come. But the business philosophy, just making businesses is so cool. I love it. I like, when I make a mistake and then I can see in the next project, because most of my projects are video editing. I like, learning about the video editor. What is she meowing at? She's meowing at something. But this is fine. I love when I make a mistake, when I fix it the next time, when a client's super happy with my project, when, there's just so many things that are so awesome about it. Of course, you got to deal with the bad people. I catch them. Walmart taught me how to catch people, and so did martial arts. It taught me how to catch the BSers and the people that are trying to manipulate you or lie to you. That it's kept me from plagiarism jobs. It's kept me from doing voiceovers of people that don't want to pay me. And I've met a lot of really cool people, and I've learned how to do a lot of cool video editing. I think I've met people in doing freelance video editing, internet content creation. I've built a whole community that supports me. That's hard for me to comprehend. And I've met some really cool, fascinating, nice, and wonderful people that feel so much like my people. They feel like my people, right? I don't know. Sorry about the meows, but I have this idea running through my head. I just met the people. I met cool people. I've gotten negotiation skills, production skills. I mean, because I'm freelance video editing, I quit Walmart. And when I quit martial arts, I also have kind of the safety net. There was a little bit of income I was making from martial arts. I was making a lot of sacrifices, so I didn't get paid that much. Like, a lot of unpaid time away from being clocked in, creating classes, stuff like that. And so, it kind of helps. And here I am today, still learning how to video edit. I'm probably 5 times as fast video editor than I thought I was. Like, because I learned all the hotkeys and I use Adobe Premiere Pro, I save so much time making videos. So, I think freelancing, it's hard for me to say anything negative about freelancing. I chose freelancing. I am getting the results of my work ethic I put into freelancing, good and bad. I'm meeting people, good and bad, because of freelancing. It feels so much like my thing. It feels like the business part of it is my thing. It's hard for me to gauge what types of video projects I do and don't want to participate in. That's a very difficult thing. Like, I haven't made a prank, let's say a prank video, so I don't know if I enjoy making a prank video. I sort of know what kind of videos I do and don't like to make, jobs I do and don't like to make, or do, I should say. And I mean, I've done a couple jobs, like, I'm trying to think of one, that I wish the person had long-term work for. Like, I had to meow a song. I got paid $10 to meow a song. That was pretty cool. I made someone shot a home rap video, and I put it together. Don't ever want to do that again. Hi, the cat's finally in here. I had to cut out a whole bunch of, like, there's a video editing job where 90% of my time was spent cutting out stutters and ums and all that. I don't want to do that again. At least, I don't want that to be the primary thing I'm paid for. Because that is frustrating to do. No. But, I mean, there's some really cool jobs. I get to edit B-roll. I get to find epic martial arts clips. And I get to edit gaming videos. I get to make montages. And I get paid for it. So I get to do more of it and learn more and become a better video editor because of it. And then some of the graphic design, I haven't really done a lot of it, but some of it's bled out onto the YouTube channel. Some of my editing techniques bled out onto the YouTube channel. Like, I don't think I would have come up with the idea of taking stream highlights and putting them together if I hadn't been doing this. Just because I'm around video editing all the time. I have all these ideas and stuff. I wouldn't have built the Necromancer video if I didn't start freelancing. This cooking video that I'm working on, that's taken a back seat, that I spend a little bit of time on every once in a while, I wouldn't have this crazy, insane idea if it wasn't for freelance video editing. So, that's all I gotta really say about this. My 6 jobs, the worst one was Altar Boy. The next worst one was Applebees. The bottom of the okayish jobs was strawberry picking. The beginning of okay, this job isn't really that bad, but is Walmart. And then the good jobs is martial arts teaching when I did it. I might get back into it. I never really, I still have to figure that part out. Competing was fun. I might have to go into competing too. And, I mean, the internet extraordinaire businessman is a very fun experience. And I'm excited to try out other experiences too. Like esports. If I got a job somewhere in esports, that'd be kind of dope. If that was another side hustle I'm doing. But guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. That was my top, my 6 jobs that I consider my 6 jobs. In a list, let me know what you think. There's a cat. Hold on. This is gonna maybe keep her away. This is Rachel. She's very chunky. Are you a chunky monkey? Huh? You're very chunky. Down we go. Very chunky. Opposite of the casual gamer, I suck just as bad as you do at playing video games and generally hitting clips. That's Rachel. Or that's Rachel. The chunkiest cat. And I'll see you guys in the next one.